In today's show, the Blazers get a good loss against the Lakers in Los Angeles? I think so. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, talk about the Blazers' 114-106 loss to the Lakers in Los Angeles. I thought this was a good loss, and they haven't had a loss that felt like this in a little while. It's been a minute since they've had a game where I felt like they played pretty well and they accomplished some things you want to see them accomplish, and they ended up losing. They've usually, when it's gone south, it has gone like Antarctica, bottom of the map. So, yeah, we'll get into that game. We'll get into the game. We'll get into why I think it was a good loss. We'll get into some adjustments that the Blazers made to make it more palatable and kind of Chauncey Billups' approach in this game, which I think was interesting and worth discussing, and a couple more odds and ends and notes from this one. Let's get into it. Do we do with our fastest recap in the West? Blazers lose this game 114-106. They're up 31-27 after one. They led for most of the second quarter, but the Lakers close on a 24-7 run to close. 24-7 run to close the second quarter. Going to halftime, the Lakers lead 60-51. The offense just stalled out in that second quarter. Blazers scored 20 points in the second quarter, and they couldn't really stop the Lakers at the rim all night. And this was a theme that they basically addressed by going maybe in some ways against the grain. I think it's important to note who was not available in this game. Jeremy Grant did not play for your Portland Trailblazers. He's continuing to be listed as out with a facial contusion. He got hit right in the jaw. And has now missed the last two games from it. I saw him in the locker room after that, and he said I'm okay, I'm feeling fine, but I'm just like a little off, like I'm not myself. He got cracked in the face. It's the Blazers say he's not in the concussion protocol, he's not dealing with a concussion, but like he got hit right in the jaw against the Mavs and has stayed in the game. That was on Saturday evening. So he'll have a full week off if he were to return in the Blazers' next game. But so the Blazers start Denny Avdia and Toumani Camara at your forward spots alongside Shaden Sharp and Simons. On the other side, no Anthony Davis in this game. So the Lakers start Jackson Hayes, who's missed basically the whole season, but he gets in the game and it gets the start tonight. But neither team, the Lakers just aren't very big. They don't have a bunch of frontline size. And that would kind of play into things. And LeBron James just celebrated his 40th birthday. He's born on December 30th. He's I guess fresh and back at the ripe old age of 40 in season 22. And boy, was he good. And when the Blazers, LeBron was really quiet early. Christian Coloco was the Lakers' leading scorer after one quarter, but LeBron kind of got it going in that second quarter. And it's like, yeah, him. Dang, him. But only down 9. If they can clean up their defense a little bit, they'll probably be in the game. And they don't really, but the offense finds a little bit more rhythm, and they're down 88-75 after 3. Down 13 heading into the fourth quarter. Lakers never really run away and hide. They stretch it to as many as 15 with about 9 minutes and 45 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And the Blazers make a push over the next 6.5 minutes. When Anthony Simons makes a bucket and cuts the lead, he cuts the lead to 3 with 2:30 left. The Blazers hang in the game after a response. LeBron scores, Max Christie free throws. But then Shaden Sharp gets a back cut dunk. Like he looks like he's coming up to take a handoff from Toumani Camara. Instead, he cuts backdoor baseline, and Toumani finds him for an easy peasy wide open dunk. And Shaden Sharp makes every dunk look pretty darn fun. Actually, there's every so often, maybe 1 in every 10 dunks, he kind of goes up soft, and you're like, dude, you're one of the great leapers of our time. Dunk. This one, he jumped very high in the air, and the Blazers 5-point game with 1:20 left. If they get a stop, they're in it. The Lakers get it to LeBron on the left wing, up against the late shot clock. He's got Shaden Sharp on him. He pump fakes. Sharp goes in the air. LeBron just steps up right past the pump fake and leans into a three. Cash, one of 7 3-pointers 40-year-old LeBron hit, and the Lakers take an 8-point lead with 58 seconds left, and you're basically in miracle territory there, and the Blazers did not have a miracle, and the Lakers go on to win 114-106. I think any Blazer fan will tell you that losing to the Lakers sucks forever and always. Like, even your most ardent supporters of tanking will tell you that, like, I would like them to go 4-78 with 4 wins over the Lakers and 78 other losses for sure. Some people hate some other teams. I think there's some Jazz, Mavs, Thunder hate in there somewhere. And then there's some Rockets mixed in. You find some people. That's the beauty of basketball. You can find some people who've built grudges with various teams across the league. But I think universally, Lakers, the number one most hated team of your average Blazer fan, and even other ones, even your non-average Blazer fans. So I don't want to say, like, actually this is good. If you really look at it, I actually think, like, talking. I totally understand, like, the Blazers need to lose. I'm not currently super worried about their positioning in the lottery. I think they're going to probably have a really clean chance to finish with one of the 5 worst records in the NBA. And if you have one of the 5 worst records in the NBA, you're going to be all right. If you have one of the 3 worst records in the NBA, you're probably in a little bit better shape. But acting like the 4th worst record in the league is, like, so much worse than 3rd is just, like, nah. It's silly. You want to win some games along the way to prove that your young players are capable of doing it. There's an art to losing a bunch, and the Blazers have maybe not perfected it. In fact, they're doing it in kind of a weird way, quite frankly. But I'm not super worried as we stand here in January about the Blazers' lottery positioning. But I do understand losing is important. But I think this game was a pretty good loss. It was a pretty good loss. Not just because it was close, but because of how the outcome went down. Like, you're playing the shorthanded Lakers, who aren't very good, but they're not bad. They're just, like, truly a mediocre team. LeBron goes nuts with 38. Max Christie had a career night with 28 for the Lakers. But the Blazers got balanced scoring. Anthony Simons, after a very quiet and kind of bad first half, he wasn't awful in the first half, but he was just like, what's Anthony Simons doing? Like, where's he at? He finished with a team high 23. Shaden Sharp 19, Denny Avdia 19, Toumani Camara 18, and a pretty darn solid game. Like, the balance you want, a game that was close in the final 2 minutes, and you get a loss. I think this is about as good of a tank loss as you're really going to cook up. And for a variety of reasons, let's talk a little bit about what about Toumani Camara and about Shaden Sharp and about how the Blazers approach this game a little bit in the second segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Game Time. It's the place to go get tickets for any event you want to go to, whether that's sports, music, theater, or comedy. You can go make a memory with those you are close with, or, take someone that you don't know, and you can get a good deal when you're going to make that memory. Game Time has made it even easier for you to get the tickets to your favorite live events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. How it works is you search for what you want to go to on their app, the venue gets pulled up, and then the Game Time Picks will be highlighted throughout the venue, whether you want to sit close, further away, somewhere in the middle. Say you're going to an NBA game and you know that you're smarter than the average bear, and you say, sitting 4 rows away from the court is actually a bad seat compared to sitting 25 rows away from the court. You want to be about halfway up in the middle section. Those are actually the best seats in the building. Game Time picks will find you the picks you want. Plus, the app's got all-in pricing that shows you the total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use that redemption code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. So I think this was a pretty good loss because you got Shaden Sharp had a really nice first quarter. He had 11 and the Blazers took a lead. He was pretty quiet after that. Pretty quiet. Finished with 19. But kind of struggled with the jumper. I don't think this was a game where Shaden Sharp struggled from not being aggressive necessarily. I just think this was a game where he didn't shoot very well. The Blazers closed with a small ball lineup that I'll talk a little bit later, but like I thought Denny played really well. Actually, I don't even know if Denny played really well, but I do think he ended up with an impressive box score, 19 points, 10 boards, 4 assists on 8 of 14 shooting. But like, I think this speaks to how good Denny has been recently. Obviously, he had a 10 turnover game against Philly, but like over the last 15 games or so, that I like the feel without looking at the box score. I was like, Denny's been pretty good, not great, but pretty good. And then you get to the box score, it's like 19, 10, and 4. Hard to argue with that. hard to argue with that. And like he shot it pretty well. Hard to argue with that. I will say just like I tend to watch most of the first 3 quarters, at least when I'm on my couch, which I was for this game because it was on the road, without looking at the box score like intentionally. So I try to take notes without like try to be influenced too much. Although sometimes I will just to make sure that my that I'm living in reality and not in Michael's brain. But I didn't even I thought Denny was fine. And you look at the box score, I was like, he was pretty good. Toumani Camara ended up with 18 on 8 of 13 shooting. The Lakers basically dared him to be aggressive, and he said no problem. They put LeBron on him to kind of give LeBron rest, basically. They're like, LeBron's just going to sag off. LeBron has kind of been like not playing defense to various levels over the course of the last decade during the regular season. It's just there was a time in the past when he could flip a switch and be one of the best defensive players in the world, and now he's a 40-year-old man, and he cannot do that anymore. And he really chills on defense. He's a total chiller. And they're trying to kind of just hide him on Toumani, right? And say, like, this dude's not going to, we're not too worried about him taking a volume of threes that's going to burn you, and LeBron can at least close out on threes, and we're not super worried about this guy's off the dribble game. And Toumani Camara said, "Are you sure?" And Toumani attacked off the dribble, got a couple buckets at the rim, including a pretty nice dunk, just like driving like a lazy LeBron closeout, or a closeout where LeBron went, hard to his strong side, his right hand, and Toumani's like, "I'm left-handed, sorry, dog," and like goes past him. I thought Toumani was pretty darn good in this game on offense. Like I thought he was pretty good, pretty effective, and then hard to complain about that. I thought Scoot Henderson was pretty good in this game. Not ideal. Like I don't think Scoot was super good in this game, but he finished with 12 points and 8 assists. He did turn the ball over 3 times, including one where he just airmailed one to Delano Banton in the corner. It was like, "Here, you go get this," and he threw it like 1,000 feet over his head, deep into the corner as Delano was lifting up. Delano, after missing the previous 3 games, returns in this one. But I thought that was, I thought Scoot played pretty well. I thought Anthony Simons had a nice second half after a quiet first half. I think the only player that played like regular minutes that was kind of bad was DeAndre Ayton. I thought this is a bad DA game. No reason to really hammer it, but I thought he was just absent. It was a game where he didn't get going early on offense, which has been typical of some Blazer games and some DA games of late. And he just kind of was, you didn't feel him at all in this game. This game, you just didn't feel him. And he only ended up playing 21 minutes because they just went another direction. And I'll talk about that more to close the show. I want to mention this before we get too deep into the small ball lineup stuff that the Blazers closed the game with. Well, hold on. I have actually some stats I want to share with you. I mentioned this was a good loss, and it felt like a good loss. It's been a minute since they've had one of these. The Blazers have lost 22 games this season, right? They're 11-22. 16 of those losses have been by double digits. Like, usually when it goes bad for them, they get thrashed, right? Like I mentioned Antarctica, right? Like it goes south in a hurry. Sometimes it's maybe not all the way Antarctica, but it's like, it's the tip of Chile or whatever. Like it's far down there, man. It's freaking far south. We're heading to the bottom. It is certainly below the equator when it goes wrong for them. But over the last 3 games, they've gone 3-3. So they haven't they've won some games, and those 3 wins have been by a combined 8 points. And those games are fun, right? I'm not trying to take away from those games. But the losses over those same stretch, and then when they've gone 3-3 over the last 6 games, they lost by a combined 56 points. So they haven't had one of these where I feel like they've lost the game. They've played pretty well. It was competitive down the stretch. They made some good coaching choices, and they ended up losing. So you can it appeases the tank crowd who really wants them to lose at all costs and kind of does this dramatic nonsense when they win. This is actually bad. It's enjoy something for once, nerd. They haven't had one of these. They haven't had one of these. So I felt like the last game that I think is comparable to this is the game they lost in Phoenix, but that was a Sunday afternoon, and they played Friday, Sunday. They played against the Spurs, and then this was the middle of December against the Spurs. Blew a 17-point lead against the Spurs. That one felt terrible, and then they lost a game against the Suns where they were sort of vaguely in it in the third quarter. Took a lead. The Suns built a 12-point lead in the fourth, and they just didn't really threaten, but they were kind of close, and it was a single-digit game down the stretch, but it wasn't really in the balance, right? But that was pretty similar to this. So it's been 2.5 weeks since they've had a game like that. About 18 days since they've had a game like that. They just haven't had many of these. They've had mostly stinkers. When they lose, they've had mostly stinkers. So I think this is the ideal game for what the Blazers process should be. Young guys play. 17 minutes of Donovan Clingan, 32 minutes of Scoot Henderson, 37 minutes of Shaden Sharp, 36 minutes of Denny Avdia. The young guys play, and they end up losing. And it was interesting until the final 40 seconds or whatever. The game was interesting. Another minor note, and this is unrelated to the game. Kevin Calabro, Blazers broadcaster, was not at the game. I'm not 100% sure why he was not there. If they said it on the broadcast, I missed it. Apologies. I didn't tune in till right as the game was starting. But I didn't reach out to Casey to ask him out of respect because I don't know. I hope everything's going good with you, Kevin, if you're listening out there, and hope your family is safe and all of those things, safe and healthy and all of those things. And you're just missing the game because that's life. Sometimes people miss games. But the Blazers, the fill-in broadcaster was Zora Stevenson, who called some Olympic games, and I've heard her call other games for on NBC and Peacock over the years. Heard her here and there. I thought she was pretty good on the call. The only thing is local broadcasts are so personal. They're so personal. So there's just stuff that Zora doesn't know. She can't know because she's just a professional television person filling in. So there was a wedgie, and which is when the ball gets stuck between the rim and the backboard. And if you're a longtime viewer of the Blazers broadcast, you know that Lamar Hurd loves wedgies. He gets hyped about them, but she had no idea. She was like, "Oh, you're on top of this. You're excited," or she kind of was downplaying it, it was almost embarrassing, because Delano Banton threw a layup into a wedgie. That is kind of embarrassing. She was right, but I thought she was pretty good. It's weird to hear a different voice, and I think that is a funny adjustment for someone. I watch so many of these games on TV. It was a funny adjustment, and it reminded me of when Kevin Calabro and Lamar Hurd took over the job. Is that they feel like you're watching a national broadcast. You feel like you're watching someone else who's kind of parachuting in to cover the team, which she absolutely is. But I liked Zora Stevenson. I liked Stevenson on the broadcast. I thought she was good. I've never met her in real life, but she went to Elon. Shout out to anyone who went to college in North Carolina. I looked her up. She shot 40% from three in her senior year, so she's 86% from the free throw line. I bet she has great touch. She could help. The Blazers could put her in the corner. See if she's 5'10". I don't think she'd be might be hard pressed to get a shot off in the league, but they could use more shooters, and I thought she was like a pro's pro. Like I thought it was a professional broadcast for sure. That's neither here nor there, but I just a thought that was in my notebook. Okay, the Blazers closed this game with a small lineup, and they made a decision about how they were going to handle this game, and I think it's two things that Chauncey Billups often gets criticized on this show and often on the internet, and so I want to say some things that I think he did well in this game, because when people do well, even if you think they're not good at it, you should tell them that they did well, because that's just how fair criticism and fair analysis should work. So let's be fair and talk about the Blazers small ball lineup in the third segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, let's talk about FanDuel. This is America's #1 sportsbook and an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We're heading into the end of the NFL season. You're going to see a whole bunch of backup quarterbacks play football this weekend, but that's not going to stop you from getting in on the action of finishing the regular season strong on FanDuel, because right now you can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So say you are super excited to see the Carson Wentz-led Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe that's something you want to see. The Drake May-led New England Patriots playing their way for the first overall pick. You can find a variety of things to wager on and go pick up that W to end the regular season strong. So, who's scoring touchdowns, total passing yards for your boy Carson Wentz. You can bet spreads in the first quarter. You can bet total receptions, total rushing yards. You can bet combined scores of both teams. You can bet on the combined scores of the second half if you want. Whatever you're going to do, go check it out. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Still a pass first point guard. I am still Mike Richmond. You still listen to Locked On Blazers. Blazers closed this game with a fun small ball lineup. It's one of the reasons I think this was a good tank loss, is because they tried something a little bit different. They went against the grain, they coached to the opponent, and they played the youngsters down the stretch. The Blazers finished off the game with Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, Shaden Sharp, Toumani Camara, and Deni Avdija on the court. A five-out ability to switch everything, although like three pretty negative defenders on the court with Sharp, Simons and Scoots, but an ability to play, to spread out and be on the perimeter on offense and play, try to sort of play a switchy, keep everything in front type of defense. Their backline defense to begin the game sucked. They were giving up stuff at the rim. If you're going to give up layups with centers in the game, why not go small? And I really liked that they went small. I liked that lineup. That lineup got them in the game. They were down 15 with 9:45 left, and they cut it to 3 with 2.5 minutes to go because of that small ball group. That group gave the Lakers a little bit of trouble. The Lakers had 60 points at halftime. They were limited to just 56 in the second half. This wasn't a lockup game by any means, and the Blazers defense has totally slipped after flirting with being pretty decent and early in the season. They're just kind of a bad defensive team now. They've kind of settled into that. So this wasn't like this sort of magic to lock them up, but it allowed them to do some different things. It allowed them to put Toumani and Deni Avdija on Austin Reeves and LeBron James, and then switch that two-man action and allow either Deni to guard LeBron on the switch or Toumani to guard LeBron on the switch, or if they didn't switch it, keep your best two perimeter defenders on their best players. The Lakers are not deep. Obviously Max Christie went nuts. That was the best game I ever seen Max Christie play. I kind of like Max Christie. I like him as a player. I think he's an NBA player. I've never seen him do that. I've never seen him hit 5 threes and score 28 points. It is a career high for him, but I've never seen him come have close to that sort of offensive output. He was that was new to me. That was a new experience for me. But I liked the strategy. I liked that the Blazers went to their youngsters. I like that they're closing out the games with Scoot and Shaden Sharp on the court. I like that they're closing out the game with Deni Avdija on the court, even obviously no Jeremy Grant in this game. But, this was the Lakers don't have bigs, right? They're playing Christian Koloko, and I think he gave Portland a little bit of trouble. He had 6 offensive rebounds, and playing without size, he was able to kind of just like tip rebounds out and keep them alive. But like I said, I think DeAndre Ayton was the only player on the team that played like actually bad. So the fact that he just like that Chauncey just went away from him, said, hey, he played 21 minutes. So like, cool, you don't have it. Peace. Like, you're not playing. And I think that's, I like that. Just like I said in a previous episode when Nate Bjorken was coaching one of the games, like, let the dudes who are playing well, let that dictate your decisions. And that's exactly what happened in this game with Chauncey Billups, and you got to give him credit for it. The other thing that I like, but I don't know that you, dear listener, will like, is DNP-CD for Rob Williams. I think Rob Williams is the best big on the team. I think he obviously can't score at the level of DeAndre Ayton, but like in terms of helping you win a basketball game, I think Robert Williams does more than DeAndre Ayton does. Tell me I'm wrong if need be, but that is my feeling. But they're going to play DeAndre Ayton, right? Because of his situation contractually, he's not like way worse than Rob Williams, and they're committed to him, and like Rob can't play 33 minutes a night, right? But they had been trying to play all 3 centers with Ayton and with Klingon and with Rob. And so most of Rob's minutes were coming at power forward or like playing either next to Ayton or next to Klingon, which is just like it's not tenable. It's not a good plan. And then they were playing 2 big lineups with Scoot, and it's like that's not going to work, right? So this was the first game, I believe, since Rob has been like fully back since he returned from an ankle injury, where they just said, "Hey, you're not going to play. Like, you're a DNP-CD." He's not on the injury report. He's just a healthy scratch tonight, and they played Klingon. They said, "Hey, Donovan, it's your night." And this might be how they have to do it. They might have to pick one or the other to play like competent lineups. Some of this may just be because of what the Lakers trotted out. Like the second unit the Lakers trot out is Koloko and Dorian Finney-Smith and Dalton Knecht and Shake Milton. Like, they're not coming with bigger centers to kind of hide some of like, there's not like an obvious matchup for a second big man to guard. It's like, okay, you guard Dorian Finney, like you guard Cam Reddish. I actually think you get away with putting Rob Williams on Cam Reddish, but like, it wasn't a good matchup for the 2 big lineup, and none of them are literally, but I like that. If you're going to make a decision, commit to the youngster. Go, like, what is the point of this season? It is to play Donovan, is to figure out what Donovan Klingon can bring you. And what he can bring you is, like, he didn't look very good on offense. It's like how he is going to score or be impactful on offense remains a bit of a mystery, but I like that the Blazers committed to him. I like that he gets 17 minutes. Would I like him to play more? Sure, but he can't play more if you're going to go small, and I like the small ball lineup. Like, you kind of have to pick and choose. This is, like, you can't just say, okay, you get all of these minutes and we're not going to respond to what the other team does. Like, you can at some point down the stretch of the season if you're just planning to lose, but if you're going to play competitive games, you have to coach. And Chauncey Billups coached in this game. He played a small ball lineup that worked. He picked one center off the bench and stuck with it, and I bet that was a decision that happened pregame, not a decision that happened in the run of play, if I had to guess. And they played a competitive game that was close in the final couple minutes, and they lost. Everybody gets what they want. A relatively entertaining game. LeBron goes nuts if you're into that. You, dear listener, probably not. This was, to me, in the grand scheme of tanking losses, a good one. This is a 2 thumbs up, good tanking loss. Entertaining, competitive, young guys play. The coach coached the game. It felt like he made decisions that were that reacted and responded to the game and were proactive in trying to get your team in spots where they can be most effective. And the small ball lineup was pretty effective. You get a bunch of dudes who can dribble and make some decisions. You're never going to put a really good shooting lineup out there, but you can put a lineup that plays with a little bit of pace and space because you have more guys who can attack off the bounce. And the whole idea of Chauncey Billups' offense that really never comes to fruition is drive, kick, swing, drive, kick, swing. And I don't think we saw a ton of that, but we saw that's probably a lineup that maximizes at least the theory of it. Okay, that's going to do it for today's show. A good tank loss, and they play some more games. How about that one, including Milwaukee on Saturday evening? Next time you hear my voice, that's what we are going to talk about. They play Milwaukee on Saturday evening, followed by Monday in Detroit. So look for a Sunday afternoon show. That'll be probably when I post that recap of that Milwaukee game. We'll talk Pistons later in the week, on to New Orleans and Dallas. That's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. Tell your friends about the program. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.